birthday, kids. What time is it?
Hey, it's Edson from GeekTime TV, here to talk to you about WandaVision, episodes 1 and 2 on Disney+. But before we get to the show, just wanted to point out that in the comic books, Wanda and Vision's relationship actually goes back almost 50 years ago. Here they are getting married in Giant Size Avengers #4, published in 1974, I believe, and that 50-cent price on the upper left-hand corner there ought to tell you all you need to know how far back this goes. More recently in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, as played by Paul Bettany, I hope I pronounced that right, and Elizabeth Olsen. Great casting. These two have a wonderful chemistry together. And in Infinity War, Wanda is in hiding from the repercussions of Captain America's Civil War, and Vision goes to meet her in these quiet little getaways as they try to explore their relationship. It's all going well until Thanos shows up and puts an end to all that, which brings us to WandaVision. We have the standard Marvel intro with a montage of the various Marvel characters, and then we get dropped into this 50s sitcom background. There's a cheery little theme song depicting Wanda and Vision as newlyweds, moving into their new suburban home. We get the black and white background, and it's obviously your first clue that this is going to be a very different superhero story. The episode starts as they start their day and have this like little bitty back and forth where she's levitating the dishes, and he says, "My wife and her flying saucers," and then one of the dishes breaks by cracking on his head, and she says, "My husband and his indestructible head," and then we get that laugh track along with it. So Vision goes off to work, and Wanda soon meets the next door neighbor, Agnes, brilliantly played by Catherine Hahn, who immediately starts prying into Wanda's life in search for gossip ammunition. She doesn't get very far because Wanda doesn't have a lot of answers for all the questions she asks. She starts making up things on the spot, which somehow leads her to believe that today is her and Vision's anniversary, and then the two women proceed to discuss on how to make it a special night for Vision. Meanwhile, Vision is at an office for work, and he, being an android, he's about 1,000% more productive than everyone else, which is hardly noticed. And that's when his boss comes in, and instead of talking about how good of a job he's doing, actually reminds him that today's a critical day, that him and his wife, Mrs. Hart, are going to have dinner at Vision's home, and his future in the company is largely going to have to hinge on how well that goes. So Vision goes into a panic, tries to call Wanda at home, and just to remind her what the special occasion is. But before he gets into it too much, she says, "I have everything under control," and we have the classic sitcom crisis, the misunderstanding. Perfect timing to go into a short commercial break. It's a toaster, a Toastmate 2000 that promises to make your toast perfect every time. And as they're showing a demonstration of it, you see the blinking light actually turning red, giving it a little bit of a menacing look. It's made at the Stark Industries, of course, and it's got the you see the tagline there: "Forget the past, this is your future," which seems to be kind of like an ominous message to the characters in the story. So we go back, and Vision shows up. Unbeknownst to Wanda, Vision shows up with Mr. and Mrs. Hart, and she's got everything in candlelight. She's wearing a nightgown, which is very awkward. They quickly explain that away as it being Sokovian, traditional Sokovian wear, and Vision whisks Wanda into the kitchen to explain everything to her and how she's got to come up with this perfect meal in minutes, while he goes back and tries to stall Mr. and Mrs. Hart. The result, it looks like chaos as the kitchen turns into, looks like a tornado's going through. There's dishes and pots and pans and food flying all over the place. She's not having any luck. While Vision's back in the office, back in the living room, trying to stall by singing old ditties, Yakety Yak and Old MacDonald. So Wanda finally gets control of everything, and she improvises. She uses her powers to have this perfect place setting with breakfast as for dinner, which, you know, why not? I like breakfast food for dinner as well. So this is where the story takes on a sharp left turn towards strangeness. Well, even stranger than having everything in a 50s sitcom. They're doing small talk on while they're eating, and Mr. and Mrs. Hart are asking Wanda and Vision some basic questions about their relationship, where they came from before they got there, and things like that, of which they kind of stare at each other. They don't have the answers. This angers Mr. Hart, and then he starts choking on food blockage there, and the reaction from the other three are kind of very curious. Wanda and Vision just stare at each other, wondering what they're going to do as their guest is choking to death, and Mrs. Hart just kind of has this nervous laughter and keeps saying over and over again, "Stop that! Stop that! Stop that!" As if she thinks Mr. Hart's joking, which he clearly is not, because he just falls off his chair, and it looks like he's in critical, right about to die. At this point, Wanda kind of gets serious and looks at Vision and says, "Help him," which he immediately gets up, phases his hands through Mr. Hart's throat and removes the blockage. Then immediately Mr. Hart springs up, and it's almost like nothing ever happened. He says, "Hey, we had a good time. It's time for us to go. And by the way, Vision, looks like you're going to get a promotion." Really strange occurrence that seems to have just been like swept under the rug. So Wanda and Vision are happy that they're very relieved that everything worked out, and the credits start to roll, but then we see everything zoom out, and we see that this is actually a show within a show. It looks like a show within a show, and when someone's observing it on a monitor at a control panel somewhere, we don't see a face, but clearly someone is watching. And the only clue we have is this logo, this sword logo on the left there on a computer, and seems to be the logo for this shield-like organization. It's in the comics called SWORD. It stands for Sentient World Observation and Response Department. They're supposed to be the organization that looks out for and deals with extraterrestrial threats. So and just like where someone's observing them, and it makes you curious of where this is going. Episode 2 begins with Wanda and Vision. It's obviously nighttime. They're in bed sleeping, and they're woken up by this disturbance outside. You get the twin beds there, as often is shown in the old style sitcoms, where the married couple isn't even on the same bed. There's this noise outside, and curiously, neither one of them is very anxious to go and check it out. They're kind of just like talking to each other, hoping it'll go away. And the result is Wanda's nervousness winds up using her powers to push the beds together, and it creates one bed. But it's no big deal. It's just it looks like it's just a branch. And we go into a new intro that looks a lot like Bewitched from the 60s and 70s. and it kind of gives you a clue like that the series is going to move forward in time in terms of the background. First it was the 50s, now it looks like it's the 60s. Their clothing changes a little bit, the styles change a little bit, so it looks like they're going to be moving forward in terms of the backdrop. We start off with next we start off with Wanda and Vision are practicing their magic act for the fundraiser, for the local fundraiser, because this is a way for them to fit in to their new town. And they're practicing the magic act, and then they realize they kind of have to go off into separate directions. She's got to go to the planning meeting for the fundraiser, while he wants to go check out the neighborhood watch. There's a neighborhood watch meeting at the local library. So Vision leaves, and Wanda is getting ready to go to the planning meeting, and she hears a buzzing noise outside. She goes and checks it out and finds, looks completely out of place, a toy helicopter, which it actually has, unlike everything else, has a red and yellow color scheme on it. Looks completely out of place in this type of setting. And if you see, it also has that same sword logo we saw from the end of last episode. And as she ponders this, tries to figure out why this is here, Agnes comes along to rush her off into the planning meeting for the fundraiser. Meanwhile, at the neighborhood watch meeting, Vision is also trying to fit in, and he accepts a piece of gum from one of the guys. He starts chewing it and accidentally swallows it, which in a brilliant move, the show then gives you this kind of animated scene from the inside of Vision's body, where they showed the gum actually going down to some gears in his body, in his stomach area, and it literally gums up the gears, and the gears come to a stop. Brilliant. Back at the planning meeting, Wanda's trying to make herself just like also try to fit in, and she introduces herself and meets a woman played by, hope I pronounce this, Teyonah Parris. The woman introduces herself as Geraldine, which is curious because it's known she's supposed to play the character Monica Rambeau, who in the comics is actually the first superhero to use the Captain Marvel moniker. But for some reason, she's Geraldine right now. And as they have this little side conversation, Wanda immediately gets into trouble with Dottie, who's running the meeting. And at this point, Catherine Hahn as Agnes probably has the best line so far, as she says, "How is anyone doing this sober?" So to make up for this getting on her bad side, Wanda stays on after the meeting to help Dottie clean up, and she's trying to figure out how to kind of make this relationship go in the right way. And she's trying to have a conversation, but Dottie says things like, "I've heard some things about you, some crazy things about you," and Wanda's like, "Well, I'm not here to hurt anyone," to which Dottie replies, "I don't believe you." And this is not going well at all. It seems to take on a very serious note, but they're interrupted by the clock radio that's there on the table, which goes from music to a voice coming through, calling out for Wanda, specifically Wanda, saying her name over and over again, and then saying, "Who's doing this to you, Wanda?" And it seems to be another clue as to that things are not what they seem here. The voice in the radio actually addressing Wanda by her name. At this point, we go into this episode's commercial, and it's for a Strucker watch, Swiss-made Strucker watch, which also has the Hydra logo on there. And as we remember in Avengers: Age of Ultron, Strucker is a part of the Hydra organization, and he had been experimenting on Wanda and her twin brother Pietro, and that's in the MCU. That's how Wanda gets her powers. So not sure where this is going, but we'll have to save that for future. Back to the episode. So we have the magic act, but it does not go the way they wanted to, because the result of the gum inside of Vision messing up with his internals is that he's now stone cold drunk. He's stumbling around. He's saying crazy things. He's not doing any kind of magic. Instead, he just tries to impress people by using his powers, which is like the last thing they want to do, bring attention to themselves. So Wanda quickly tries to cover it up with her powers. An example, like when he lifts up the piano with one hand, she then quickly changes the piano into a cardboard cutout so that the audience sees that. And the result of it is it's not a magic act at all. It changes into results in a very comedic act where everybody's laughing, but they love it. Somehow everything just turns out where everyone loves the act. They even get an award for it. And then afterwards, Wanda figures out what's wrong with Vision and helps remove the gum. Back at home, we get another surprise. And that's that suddenly Wanda is noticeably pregnant out of nowhere. They obviously they stop in surprise, but then they seem to be very happy about it. Even asked, "Is it she?" She even says, "Is this real?" And he's like, "Yes." And they're very happy. But this nice scene is interrupted by another noise outside, which they go and investigate. And it's probably the strangest scene to now. Up until now, it's even of all the strange things that we've seen, it's the strangest one ever, I think. There's this person that climbs out of the manhole, and the person's wearing a beehive outfit, and there's bees buzzing all around him. It seems completely out of place. And starts walking around, and then we have Wanda gets this serious look on her face and says no, and immediately the result of that is the show goes into this. You see the rewinding effect as they go back a minute or two back into the house when they first discover that Wanda is pregnant. So now everything's happy again, and we kind of just that scene with the man out of the manhole and the beehive outfit kind of just almost doesn't happen. And they're happy about that they're having a baby, and then with a flourish, their whole world turns from black and white to full color, and they're happy, and it's a happy ending, and the credits roll. So there you have it. Episodes 1 and 2 clearly are very different than your typical superhero story, but I found it quite entertaining, quite intriguing. Paul Bettany and Elizabeth Olsen really sell it in the black and white backdrop and that old style sitcom. It's nice to see them being allowed to actually act. I love how they give these looks to each other and the way they play off each other as they try to deal with all these little absurd crises. Everything's done with such precision. They really, as I said, they really have good chemistry. The supporting cast is great as well, especially Catherine Hahn as the neighbor. And then we get the sprinkling of the clues, the little mystery, little scenes that don't belong, which clearly indicate that not everything is not what it seems, and it gives you kind of this intriguing look that you don't really know where the story is going, and it's great. I'm very excited to see where it's going. I'm definitely going to continue watching this. I liked the first 2 episodes, and I'm looking forward to next week. So that's it for me. please leave a comment and let us know what you thought of these episodes, whether you agree, whether you like it, do you not like it. And if you like this video, please consider hitting the subscribe button so you never miss any new content. And it really does help us grow the channel, make more entertaining videos. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you soon.
If you like this video, please subscribe to the channel. If you subscribe, make sure you click the little bell icon to be notified anytime someone from our show drops new content here. Thanks for watching, and we'll talk to you soon.
Say, kids, what time is that?